Matzah Shabbos Kodesh, the 10th day of the month of Mar Cheshvan, and we are holding at the top of Daf Nun Gimel Amud Beis, where the Gemara has quoted a discussion starting from the bottom of Nun Gimel Amud Aleph about Todos Ish Romi. Todos, a leader from Rome, that told the Jewish people in Rome that they should eat a gedi mekulas belele Pesachim, to eat roasted goats on Pesach night. And they sent a message to him: if not for the fact that you were Todos, we would have put you in Cherem, because you were feeding the Jewish people kachim outside of the Beis Hamikdash. Says the Gemara at the bottom of Nun Gimel Amud Aleph, kachim saktat. Do you really think that he was feeding them kachim? No, ela ima. Rather say top of Nun Gimel Amud Beis, korav la'achilas yishal kachim b'chutz. It looked like he was feeding kachim to the Jewish people outside the Beis Hamikdash, because the way that they would eat this meat on Leil Pesach, on Seder night, looked like it was like a zecher lemikdash. It looked like it was imitating the Korban Pesach. Says the Gemara, mekulas in. Yeah, if the whole thing was roasted, then it would be asur. She'en mekulas lai. But if it is not roasted, would it not be forbidden? Meaning, if it wasn't the whole thing roasted at once, with the rosha al kibrav al kraim, I mean, the head tucked in together within, it's the whole thing roasted all together. She'en mekulas lai. It seems to be that if it's not mekulas, then it would not be asur. So Amri, they say, no, mekulas loishna, amar loishna loy amar. With regards to gedi mekulas, it doesn't make a difference. The Mishnah told us that you are not allowed to say that basuzeh lePesach, that this meat is for Pesach. Why? Because it sounds like you are dedicating this as kachim. So with regards to mekulas loishna loy amar, loishna amar, it doesn't make a difference with the gedi mekulas whether you say this is Pesach or not Pesach. Just having gedi mekulas is awesome. That's a separate issue, an issur. She'en mekulas, if it's not mekulas, perish in, le perish la. If you said this is for Pesach, so even if it's not mekulas, so ein mekulas, if it's not whole roasted, so perish in, if you said this is for Pesach, that's asur. Le perish, if you didn't say this is for Pesach, then there's no issur. Rav Acha matni la laha masnitzin Rav Shimon. Rav Acha taught this Mishnah, or this brisa, in accordance with the opinion of Rabbi Shimon, and not like the opinion of Rabbi Yossi. Meaning, he said that this is the opinion of Rabbi Shimon. Maseches of Rabbi Sheshes gets very upset with him and said, "I don't understand what you're talking about." And now we're going to get a little bit of a technical discussion here. Bishlam l'man detani like Rabbi Yossi. It makes good sense if we said that this is the opinion of Rabbi Yossi. Nicha. This makes good sense. And if you want to say that this is the opinion of Rabbi Shimon Yochai, so me nicha, does it make any sense? And don't we have a brisa, a Mishnah that teaches us? Rabbi Shimon Poiter, he's not the kederach ha misnadvim. Rabbi Shimon says you're potter if you don't dedicate something to the Beis Hamikdash in the way of the misnadvim. So Rashi says what exactly we're talking about here. Ba'omer harei alai mincha min hasarim. If a person says, I'm going to bring a mincha, I'm going to bring a korban mincha meal offering, but that's going to come min hasarim. It's going to come from barley. Ditnan menachas. The Gemara tells us Maseches menachas. Maybe minachitin. Menachas only come from wheat, not from barley. The Kevin the Amar harei alai minchas. Harei alai mincha. I say I'm bringing a korban mincha. Tafus lashon rishon. Mincha enabah minas ha'arim nedava. Hilgach yavi minachitin. Reb Shimon Poiter. So the machlokes in the Mishnah there in menachas is, if somebody says, I'm going to bring a mincha from barley. So the first opinion is, you said, I'm going to bring a mincha, so now you have to bring a mincha. Then you said from barley, that's irrelevant. You can't bring a mincha from barley. Therefore, that falls apart. Rabbi Shimon says, the whole thing, you are potter because you didn't dedicate the way that normal people dedicate. We look at your whole statement altogether, and you didn't say, I'm going to bring a mincha like a normal person. You said, I'm going to bring a mincha from barley, which means you're potter completely. The Tanna Kama says, no, you said you're going to bring a mincha. The fact that you said from barley means you don't know what minchas are. But we'll tell you what a mincha is, and then you have to bring it. So what does that sound like? Our Mishnah told us that if a person says, this meat is for Pesach, that the whole thing is going to be, that's asur. What do you mean? You can't say that this meat is for Pesach. You go to the shuk and you buy a piece of steak and you say, I'm going to have that. That doesn't make any sense. It's not a korban. It's not a live animal. It's not in the Beis Hamikdash. None of that makes sense. So So to say that this is the opinion of Rabbi Shimon doesn't make any sense, and that is and that is the rejection that the contradiction that Rosh challenges. That this cannot be the opinion of Rabbi Shimon, because Rabbi Shimon holds that if you didn't dedicate something, if you don't say that this is a Korban Pesach in a normal way, so in Menachos he says you're not going to be chayiv, you're going to be chayiv here either. So the issue is nonsensical. Ravina says to Rav Ashi, hold on a second. You want to tell me that this does make sense according to the opinion of Rabbi Shimon? This also wouldn't make sense according to the opinion of Rabbi Yossi. Why? Didn't Rav tell us Rabbi Shimon b'shittas Rabbi Yossi Amar that when Rabbi Shimon said what he said, that you are not chayiv to bring a mincha at all, he said it because he agrees with Rabbi Yossi. He's within the opinion of Rabbi Yossi. The Amar, he says, Af bigmar dvar adam nitpas. Rabbi Yossi said that a person is going to be chayiv even for the end of their statement. You're going to be chayiv even for the end of your statement. That's my love. Does that not mean the Rabbi Shimon like Rabbi Yossi? The Rabbi Shimon holds like Rabbi Yossi, meaning that your statement, the statement that you just said, I'm going to bring a mincha, minas arim, means that we take everything that you said seriously, not just chopping up your statement like we wanted to say before. We take the whole thing seriously. And what's the machlok? Because Rabbi Yossi, nami like Rabbi Shimon. The Rabbi Yossi holds like Rabbi Shimon as well. So says the Gemara now, Rabbi Shimon like Rabbi Yossi. Rabbi Shimon holds like Rabbi Yossi. Rabbi Yossi like Rabbi Shimon, and Rabbi Yossi does not hold like Rabbi Shimon. How does that work out? Rabbi Shimon holds like Rabbi Yossi means we take everything that you said seriously. You said, I'm going to bring a mincha. Okay, good. You're going to bring a mincha. Minas sa'arim. No, then it means you're not going to bring a mincha. You just undid. You just said a Control Z on the statement. But according to Rabbi Yossi doesn't hold like Rabbi Shimon. Rabbi Yossi doesn't say that we look at your whole statement as a whole. According to Rabbi Yossi, we don't see the whole statement as one. We see what you just said. I'm going to bring a mincha. Good, you're going to bring a mincha. Mina sarim from sarim. That doesn't make any sense. So you're still chayiv to bring the mincha. Rabbi Shimon is not poter you because we look at your whole statement and then we puzzle you. We say no, you did be mechayiv yourself, and then you were unmechayiv yourself immediately. But Rabbi Shimon, that's the shit of Rabbi Shimon. But according to Rabbi Yossi, we would look at your statement piece by piece, and therefore you say, I'm going to bring a mincha. Good, you should bring a mincha. Minasarim will tell you how to bring the mincha. Says the Gemara, they ask the question as follows. With regards to Todas Yomi, which I was looking up what is the translation of Todas. So the current translation of Todas is Theodosius, which apparently there were a lot of them. So which Theodosius, if this is correct, is this? So I'll leave it to some of the Chavra to figure out exactly which Theodosius this is. But okay. Todas Yomi, Gab Rabba Haba or Bal Egrofen Haba. This Todas Yomi, this Todas, who was the leader of the Jewish community in Rome, was he Talmud Chacham, or was he just a Bal Egrofen, means a guy with a lot of money and a lot of power, literally a man of fists, meaning why is it that they didn't put him in Cherem? He says, if not for the fact that you were Todas, so why? Why is that chashiv? Says the Gemara Tashma. Todas Yomi had a drasha. We say Torah in his name. What was the Torah that he said? What was his drasha? Why did Hanan, Mishael, and Azariah in the days of Galus Bavel, why did they throw themselves into the fire rather than to bow down to the statue of Nebuchadnezzar? So says the Gemara that Todas Yomi taught us. They made a Kal V'chomer argument from the Tzvardeim of Mitzrayim. And the Tzvardeim, the frogs and all crocodiles, according to the Sforno. Frogs are not chayiv to give their lives al kiddush Hashem. Ksiv behu, the pasuk says, "Uba'u va'alu beisecha uvesarecha uvemesharesecha." They're going to come and they're going to go up into your house and in your ovens and in your dough. Ema misharis mitzuyas esel tanur. So Ema say misharis mitzuyas esel tanur. When are you going to have dough that is near a fire? Have omer, that's going to be b'shash hatanur cham, when the ovens are hot. So we, that are chayving in the mitzvah of Kiddush Hashem al achas kama, how much more so should we be willing to give al Kiddush Hashem, even though, and the Gemara discusses this in other places, they were not technically chayav for this because it wasn't, strictly speaking, avodah zarah. It was a statue in honor of the Nebuchadnezzar, not necessarily avodah zarah. Nevertheless, they did not want to bow to it, and they made this kal v'chomer from the frogs that were not chayav in general in Kiddush Hashem. They said we are in general chayav in Kiddush Hashem, and therefore we're going to give our life here. So what did we learn from here? The Dirshu Yishrami was a Talmud Chacham. Rabbi Yossi bar Avin Amar. Rabbi Yossi bar Avin says more about Dirshu Yishrami. Matel Malay lekis shel Talmid Chachamim haya. He put malay, meaning merchandise, into the pockets of the Talmid Chachamim, meaning he invested money of the Talmid Chachamim, made partnerships with them, and he supported the Galulim, supported the Avrechim. The Amar Rabbi Yochanan says, anybody who puts merchandise into the pockets of the Talmid Chacham, he gets to sit in the Yeshiva Shalmala, meaning he's zeichet to whatever they're going to be getting as well. Remember, the pasuk says, "Keep itzel hachachma, itzel hakasef." For in the shadow of money is the shadow of wisdom, and that's the pasuk in the 7th parak of Kehalas. Okay, moving on to the Mishnah. The Mishnah then tells us in the middle of Nun Gimel Amud Beis, one line up from the white lines, in places that they have the minhag to light ner for Yom Kippur. On Yom Kippur madlikin, you should light it. In places that they do not have the minhag to light neris on Yom Kippur, ein madlikin, don't light neris. So I'm minhag today. Everybody lights ner shel Yom Kippur. It says the Gemara, it says the Mishnah, everybody agrees that you have to light in shul and in the Beis Medrash, and in dark corridors, and where people are sick. Meaning, everybody agrees, Shabbos you have to light candles, and Yom Tov you have to light candles, but in Yom Kippur you don't eat a meal, so there would be no necessity of lighting a candle. Why should you have a candle at home? Says the Gemara, Tana, we have a brace like this. Both the opinion that says that you should light neris for Yom Kippur, and those that said that you should not light candles for Yom Kippur. Everybody had the same intention. What's the same intention? As a deterrent to ensure that people did not violate the Isra of Tashmish Amit, of marital intimacy on Yom Kippur. What's this for? If there's no lights on, so you're not going to see, husband is not going to see wife, and wife is not going to see husband, and they're not going to be, when they come home late night on Yom Kippur, they won't be able to see each other, so they won't be tempted to be with each other. And the shita that says that you bedavka should light neris is you're going to come home. The halacha is that you're not allowed to be mishamish shamita la'arhaner. You're not allowed to be intimate while the lights are on. And since you cannot extinguish the flame, so what are you supposed to do? You go to bed because you can't be mishamish. You can't be mishamish shamita. So since both of them have the same svara, says the Gemara, both of them have the same intention. Amar Rav Yehuda. Says Rabbi Yehuda, Darsh Rava said, "Va'amech kulam tzadikim lu'olam yushu aretz." That this is what the pasuk means. Va'amech kulam tzadikim. Both opinions are because of tzidkus. Everybody wants to be a tzaddik. Certainly on Yom Kippur. Va'amech kulam tzadikim. Bein shamar lahadlik, bein shamar shalei lahadlik. Both the opinion that says you should light neris and the one that says that you should not. Shneim lo niskavnu ela davar echad. Everybody agrees to the same svar and the same idea behind it. Amar Rabbi Yehuda, Amar Shmuel, says Rabbi Yehuda in the name of Shmuel, Ein mevarchem ala ur ele b'motzei Shabbos. You only make a bari marha'ish at the end of Shabbos, not the end of Yom Kippur. Since Motzei Shabbos is the time that Hashem gave us fire, and therefore we say bari marha'ish. He gave to Adam and Chava. When they left Gan Eden, they were terrified. It says, so Chazal tell us that they were terrified. And Hashem says, don't worry, I'll give you fire. So we say Bari Maria Aish at the end of Shabbos, but not the end of Yom Kippur. Amar Lehahu Sava, there was a certain old man that was in the Beis Medrash. Vitim Rabbi Barchana, and some say it was Rabbi Barchana. He says, Yishar, good, shkoyach. It's like Yishar koyach. Well said. That's exactly what they did. V'chein Amar Rabbi Yochanan, and that is exactly what Rabbi Yochanan said. Now the Gemara tells a little bit of a story about the transmission of this tradition. Ula have Rachim Chamer va'azil v'have Shakil va'azil Rabbi Abba mimine v'Rabba Barachana mismalei. Well, Ula was riding a donkey, and Rabbi Abba was to his right, and Rabbi Barachana was to his left. Amarle Rabbi Abba le'Ula. Rabbi Abba says to Ula, Vaday da'am risu mishmei de Rabbi Yochanan. Did you say this in the name of Rabbi Yochanan? This teaching, the name of Rabbi Yochanan, that we only say Bari Mara'esh at the end of Shabbos, not the end of Yom Kippur. Ein mevarchim ala ur el b'motzei Shabbos. This did. Hoil tchilas briasayhu, since this is the beginning of the time that it is that it was created, it was given to mankind. So how the Ula turned? Chaz be Rabbi Barachana baishis, and he saw that Rabbi Barachana was very angry about this. He was very upset. When you look at him with frustration, he says to him, "Ana lava ha amri." Did I didn't say in reference to that. Ela aha amri. I said in reference to this din, the Tana came to Rabbi Yochanan, that a certain Tana said in the name of Rabbi Yochanan, Rabbi Shimon Lazo amri, that Rabbi Shimon Lazo said, Yomi Kippurim shechalias b'Shabbos, that with regards to Yom Kippur that falls out on a Shabbos, even in places that they said not to light candles, you should light a candle on Erev Shabbos that falls out in Yom Kippur, because of Kavod Shabbos. And Rabbi Yochanan followed up with a statement. The Chacham said that it's Aser. So he says, that's what I was talking about. That's what I was talking about. That's what I quoted in the name of Rabbi Yochanan, not the din of not lighting fire, making Bari Mara'esh at the end of Yom Kippur. So Amarle, he says to him, Ada Tehei. So admit that I was correct. You should give edus to this. Rashi says, Zoistia bazai ani moide she'am Rabbi Yochanan. So this is taka. It's true. So Karle Rabbi Yosef said about this, my mamukim, eitzah believe ish. Advice in a man's heart is like deep water, turning onto nun daled amud aleph, v'ish tevuna yidlena. But an understanding man will be able to draw it out. That's the pasuk in Mishlei. Rashi says, what does that mean? Haven ma hayu believe shel Ula shayu mistakaba. He saw Ula look at him, and he knew exactly what Ula was upset about. He understood. He chapped the whole thing. So my mamukim eitzah believe ish ze Ula, v'ish tvuna yidlena ze Rabbi Barachana. My mamukim, that's Ula had something deep down inside of him. He looked at Rabbi Barachana, and Rabbi Barachana chapped immediately. This is what Ula is upset about. That I said something inappropriately. I didn't quote the din correctly. I said in the name of Rabbi Yochanan, but the wrong din. I didn't say it right. And then the Gemara wants to know, V'inu Kaman Savrua, who did they hold like? Meaning Ula and Rabbi Barachana, who didn't say like Rabbi Abba had said. We will continue with that din tomorrow. Everybody should have a wonderful day, a wonderful evening, and a beautiful week ahead.